All aboard. Celestial Chatter, January 17th through 23rd. Aquarius rises. This soul train is bound for, you fill in the blank. Where's your soul attempting to get to? I would like to paint a picture for you to observe the alignment of the planets in their trajectory around the zodiac as if it were a train, with each sign being one of the cars. While present in any sign with other passengers, there are things related to the particular sign that are up for discussion. As well, when passengers move from one car to the next, they carry an imprint of energy from the previous sign car to be blended in some fashion with the next matrix. After all, it is the same train and is headed in one direction on the track. Why is everyone attempting to get to the engine? And will they make it before the cars are shifted around? And who will be the engineer by then? Mercury, traveling forward or backwards, is still tasked with thinking and curiosity and developing a story to live into. There's a natural reflection cycle spun while Hermes, investigates options that often require clarification if one rushed through an experience previously that could use more delving into. Settling on finality related to these moments of ponder may require patience so as not to burn bridges you may need to cross in the future. Our passenger, Mercury, will be wandering toward the back of the car of Aquarius and should prepare to reacquaint with Capricorn, but not until the 24th. So each of us will gain some insight from our brief sojourn in Aquarius to carry back into the Capricorn car. And this will gain some insight from our brief sojourn in Aquarius, and will depend on our particular soul journey. One of the beauties of Aquarius is that the openness for input from divergent perspectives is placed on the table for consideration in order for appropriate measures to be initiated that can be as inclusive as possible. These are some of the factors included in what Mercury is mulling over while it backpedals through Aquarius. By the way, I'm doing this on Friday morning, which is just a little bit after Mercury has already gone retrograde. But looking at next week, on the 17th, the moon skids in from out of bounds, where it has been for the past 3 days on Monday, to bestow its maximum brightness tonight as a full moon. It is near the end of the 2.5 days in Cancer, so it should be fully feeling its oats. If one were to ponder what kinds of energy signatures are on the table for this full moon, pay attention to your connection to home, family, and the ancestors. As it highlights the Capricorn-Cancer axis, might there be matters of placement in the collective level of administrative rulership that are percolating to the surface? Monday as well finds that the retrograding Uranus in Taurus has finally determined to once again begin to start heading forward in his train car. There has been a long cycle of messages being transferred back and forth with Saturn and Aquarius between these two so-called rulers of Aquarius. While they are not scheduled to perfect the square aspect again in the current cycle, they are still within hailing distance of potentially energetic exchanges. Uranus has been retrograde since mid-August last year in the second decanate, or 10 degrees, of Taurus. That's from 10 degrees Taurus to 20 degrees Taurus. That has some Virgoan overlay of energy. It is likely that we could have been awakened to value structures in rather abrupt fashion that have a bearing on the resources of planet Earth. The second decanate overlay might trigger visions of most or more appropriate resource utilization. As we head forward again, these same matters are still up for reflection, but hopefully with a more upbeat perspective. Turn the page as the train moves incrementally forward, and we have some things shifting into the previous cars, and that is the lunar nodes as they shift from Gemini Sagittarius to Taurus Scorpio. Let us go all the way to the caboose and see what is transpiring. Hang on. For this, I'm going to actually go over and show you the chart. This is the rear end of the caboose. You can kind of see the image here. This is the train going along right now. And the moon is moved out here on Monday. Remember, full moon. It will, because it moves a degree every 2 hours. So it's about to cross over that thing. Anyway, we're talking about this, we're going to talk about the south node right now because it's in that caboose position. This has been a Sagittarius unit for a spell, and perhaps we might consider maintaining that factor, except for that south node seeming to jump off the train's hindquarters. This takes place on Tuesday, the 18th. It takes a long 1.6 years, approximately, for the nodes to traverse any particular car zone in this reverse trajectory. One reason I might still consider the caboose to hang onto the Sagittarius flavor is that the lunar nodes are not actual physical objects, but are energetic points established by the crossing of the orbits of the Earth, Sun, and Moon. It would be an error to discount their impact in our lives, as they represent what has often been referred to as a destiny line, with the South Node flavor carrying experiences or their memories we have already been through, but often linger as a foothold in our lives. The Sagittarius caboose is akin to a library section filled with tomes that offer opportunity for us to expand what we know, with new material constantly landing on the shelves to discover. As the South Node slides into the next experience of Scorpio, the potential new caboose is a section in the library that is filled with mystery and intrigue. We're being called to wonder about intimate encounters where what was shared with others was infused at some level by resource combinations not easily divided. Another reason to carry some Sagittarius flavor for the South Node shift is that it has just come from there and still needs to integrate the change in venue. The trick with any South Node factor is to recognize it as a zone of resource that is available to draw upon, but not to wallow or linger within, as this would be a distraction to our soul objectives. Leaving the South Node to contemplate the next step, we re-enter the Sagittarius car, where Mars has been energizing our quest to explore even more. We glance around and expect if there were bookshelves here, they would be full of adventures and exploration. I would not be surprised to see some Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer, or even some Joseph Campbell names vying for my attention. On January 10th, Mars slipped over the line and went out of bounds and will be there for about a month. So during this week, Mars, that energy. It's not known for lounging around and waiting for things to unfold. It has a drive factor that is impulsive and rarely looks back to see where it has been. Traveling out of bounds, inspiration to expand beyond the confines of the train car as part of a whole unit might seek to lift the car upwards on a trajectory to other worlds. Needless to say, the Sagittarius car is a very active place to hang out right now. The out of bounds beat of a different drummer beckons a quest beyond the confines of normalcy. Let us wander into the next car forward, and we enter the realm of Capricorn. While there is definitely a sense that we are coming back down to earth from our Sagittarius sojourn, we have several occupants milling about. But first, a glance around to become familiar with our surrounds. In the immediate foreground, we can see some desks with shelves behind containing books and pamphlets, leaning toward techniques for developing leadership and organizing government and business ventures, etc. A little bit further down the car, and we find a more organic process unfolding where concern is shared in best methods of inclusion. There is more of an air of wise elderhood here. We meet Venus coming towards us on its retrograde path, and a wave of partnership energy flows around us as we sense concern for resource utilization in the mix. As we near the front end of the car, there is an energy uptick as Pluto is querying the value of certain implements of process and thought for how best to get organized. The sun is shining brightly into this, saying, it's time to turn the compost, as it appears ready to move forward into the next car. I'm going to shift back to the chart momentarily here. As we move the chart forward to Wednesday, Wednesday arrives, and the sun does indeed enter the Aquarius car. Happy birthday to all those Aquarian parts in our larger family. Let's look around and see what this car looks like. We can perceive some sort of scientific laboratory with a group weighing the results of their investigations. There's another group a bit further on in heated discussion that seems to be about how best to involve more participants. At the far front end, there's a fire circle with all kinds of beings present, seeming to invoke a perspective, a presence to arrive. As we enter the car, we can see Mercury coming towards us in its retrograde path. We query its mission and discover there are details that must be refined if the message is to be perceived by many more than currently are able. Back to our chart. We move ahead all the way to the end of the week. This is Sunday. And on Sunday, you can kind of see, here's a couple planets, the Sun and Mercury, that are obviously dancing together. The end of the week arrives, and Sunday finds Mercury and the Sun conjoined. The fire-like energy of the solar orb strikes a chord in our thought processes. This Cassimi moment, Mercury in the heart of the Sun, transfers a rush of potential substance for Hermes to have at its avail for accomplishing some serious releasing of unnecessary thought avenues, distracting from its mission. It might prove helpful to meditate on the Sabian symbol interpretation from Dane Rudger's An Astrological Mandala for this particular degree of the zodiac. You'll notice in the chart it says that they meet at 3 degrees, but this is the 4th degree. So a Hindu yogi, this is the image that came through. A Hindu yogi demonstrates his healing powers. And the keynote, the disciplined use of spiritual energies in restoring the natural harmony disturbed by man's non-harmonic attempts to transcend nature through mind. Civilization implies a process, this is further notes on it, of transcending compulsive and rigid biological drives while making use in a refined and mentalized way of what it cannot control. This is all the Sabian symbol. The goal of a true civilization, Western civilization being a large extent of caricature of it, is the development of a humanity composed of self-motivated and responsible individuals freely associating according to harmonic patterns in order to produce a vast spiritual chord of consciousness, fully actualizing the potentialities inherent in the archetype. One of the things about Dane Rudger is he can really put together some long sentences. Anyway, at the end of this sentence of the potentialities inherent in the archetype man, and I put the / woman because we're all involved. The process of individualization and civilization is full of dangers. And for a very long time, it is obsessed by karmic shadows, the results of individual and collective deviations and perversions. Such results most often lead to disease, dis-ease. It is the spiritual duty of individuals who have been able to tap the vast reservoir of spiritual forces pervading our planet to use these energies for healing their less fortunate comrades. This fourth stage symbol refers to a technique which not only can be used for the healing of physical illness, but for the making whole or of whatever has lost its natural root integration and has not yet reached the holistic state of perfect harmony and identification with divine whole. Self-discipline, purity of motive, compassion, faith in the divine order are required, and the focusing of spiritual energy. That was the interpretation for that particular Sabian symbol, where the sun and Mercury are definitely dancing together in early Aquarius. Back to my thoughts. Looking like a minor consideration to kick out the blocks in our path. As long as we are on our journey forward on this train, we should wander into the Pisces car ahead. As we enter into this zone, there's a definite shift of energy substance that transpires. It is almost as if the car is floating in a sea of wave substances you can feel and see undulating throughout this space. You notice some folks, or is that beings, in meditation, while others seem to be seeking to escape the confines of physical existence, or at least ruffle feathers by disruptive lifestyles. There, directly in our path, is Jupiter, throbbing in an inclusive invitation to let go of worldly concerns and climb aboard a vehicle that can show you how to plumb the depths of this oceanic zone. And the thought tickles your senses, and you hear, "Don't hold back." After navigating around this enormous presence, you come to Neptune further up the car, surrounded by very comfortable seats, beckoning you to sit a spell and allow the waves of truth to wash over and clean or clear every aspect of you. This post, as I suspected, has extended to great length, and we will leave the train investigation for another time. After all, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Oh, dang, Even as I was typing that, the muses whispered loudly that I should not leave out the lunar north node shift into Taurus. You'll notice it down there at the bottom of the chart, right down here, just a little beyond our Uranus. Okay, the North Node on the destiny line path in some ways can represent goals the journey of the soul is on. In some fashion, this may represent the engineer of the current train configuration. It has just left the Gemini station where our quest for information seemed inspired at every turn with a curiosity stream as wide as the cosmos itself. Somewhere in the matrix, we may have awakened to soul inspiration to refine our particular calling. Now, as the North Node shifts back into Taurus, we should ask ourselves if the calling we have chosen will allow for our souls to continue in harmony with the energy of the natural world. Relax. This may be the key factor to embrace relaxation. Depending on how tuned into Mother Nature you are, sets in motion opportunities to investigate expanding soul options. Remember, it is not the destination, but the journey. To add some spice to this adventure, peering down the rest of the engine, we can see we are not alone. Slowly approaching us is the assistant engineer in the guise of Uranus. Perhaps there are track alterations ahead to pay attention to. As it is Uranus, it is best to be on our toes so as not to miss these opportunities that may show up abruptly. Well, that's enough for this week to ponder. See you all at the next station. Here's a little thought from Khalil Gibran. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found a path, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. So on for now, and enjoy the week ahead. It should be an adventure. Climb aboard whatever train you need to be on, and by all means, enjoy the ride.